Okay, let me go ahead and get started. Welcome, everyone. My name is Tony Cockmore, President of Civil CAD Learning Solutions, and welcome to another session of Tech Talk Tuesday. And today we're going to go over a quick intro to Autodesk Forma. We also have George. He's our new community, our Civil 3D manager. He's going to be helping me running the user group. And George is going to be kind of running the presentation. I'll do a quick intro and give him some input on this. So I'll do just a couple of slides here about Civil 3D. So here's some information about George and myself. George is the CAD manager. He's also certified in Bluebeam and also Civil 3D. I'm part of the Expelite program and also a group network leader. And I'm also president of Civil CAD Learning Solutions. And George, if you want to do a quick intro, also, kind of, how long you've been in industry and stuff like that.
Yeah, sure. So I've been in the land development civil world for going on 20 years now.
Yeah.
Been using Autodesk products for most of my time. I
Hmm.
have I have a little bit of Bentley experience as well.
Hmm.
Started off with Bentley products and then migrated to
Hmm.
Autodesk and Civil 3D. Also, certified professional for Bluebeam
Hmm.
review as
Hmm.
well. Um, and I like what I do. I like to teach people.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. And so when we get started, we'd like to get some input from see what people are doing with Forma. Are you using Forma? Are you looking to start using Forma? If we get a lot of traction, maybe we'll start doing quick little 30-minute little webinars of intros, how to do step by step using Forma. So go to the next tab here. So if you don't know what Forma is, it's basically just a cloud-based, a login cloud-based using AI software to create conceptual models. And the way I see Forma is kind of like SketchUp slash InfoWorks. Correct me if I'm wrong, George. So that's why I see it. And yes, you can add other extensions, so like Rhino and Revit that you could use to bring in 3D models and stuff like that. So, but it's a cool site planning tool in a kind of a 3D world environment, and you can bring in other GIS information, some like aerials and 3D models into your model, and then you can run all the different analysis tools. So they have several analysis tools built in. For example, you can do comparisons of site models. You can do, I think, carbon analysis, daylight analysis, noise analysis. What's some other ones? I can't remember. I know there's two more, I think.
Yeah,
Um,
there's the solar analysis.
the solar. Okay.
There's the wind the
The wind,
analysis.
yes, I knew it was missing one, the wind analysis and stuff. So,
Yeah, that one's pretty cool.
yeah, so they have a bunch of great analysis tools. Now, I will say that we don't want to make sure there's no confusion about Autodesk Format. So, Format has kind of been, I don't want to say officially discontinued, but all those features have been brought into Forma. So, right now, all they're doing is just security updates on the format. So, I know this sounds kind of the same, but this is Forma, not Format. So, almost the same kind of tools basically, but they moved it over and use this platform now. So same all this most of the tools you saw in Forma are now being incorporated into Forma. Um, let's see what else. And I've got some in the handout a quick general step by step how to kick off a brand new project in Format. And I'll update this that way. I'll put it on the user platform. You can download it and use it. Uh, George, in your, I guess, this presentation, are you going to kind of start a new project or are you going to kind of use an existing model?
Yeah, I'm gonna start from scratch.
Okay, cool, cool, cool.
Yep.
Um, and then I will say that you also can import models from uh, InfoWorks, long as it's, I think it's, correct me if I'm wrong, OBJ and IFC files, right?
Correct. Yep.
And so you can also bring in SketchUp files. As long as you export as an OBJ file, you can bring it in, that SketchUp model into it. So now there are some built-in tools to in Format, where I'm sorry, Forma, where you can kind of create your own building. It's got some simple tools to slice and cut and create curves on your building and then create multiple floors and stuff. So there are some cool tools. We won't get into that. I don't know if Georgia will get into it, but there are some cool tools in there to kind of create your own 3D building and stuff. So, all right. Um, all right, I think that's really it in the presentation on my slides here. But okay, let's see. George, if you want to now share your screen,
Sure.
and so I'll stop sharing. And if you have questions, just go ahead and post it on the chat. We'll try to answer the questions. I'm definitely not an expert. I'm actually trying to learn and use Forma right now and give my opinion on just how is it complicated? Is it very user friendly to use this product? Um, but yeah, definitely posting questions online. All right.
Oh, excellent. Thank you, Tony, for that. Um, so I just wanted to preface Autodesk acquired a company or a product called SpaceMaker, and that is what this newly formed Autodesk Forma is based off of. So Autodesk acquired them, I think it was early 2023, and they were able to take that SpaceMaker software and they were able to combine it with options of their Formit package. And then combining these two products together, they were able to develop this Autodesk Forma. So like Tony mentioned, this is a completely cloud-based software. You do not need to install anything, which is nice. You can share it with your team members easily. You can access your projects pretty much anywhere as long as you have a web browser. Now, I did want to talk about pricing because this is not a free product. So their models start off at $185 a month, and and that's a per month basis for one user. Then they have for a year, if you purchase it for a year, you get a 32% savings. So the price for that would be a $1,500 per seat. They do have a 3-year option, but essentially what that does is just lock the price in for 3 years. You don't get any additional discounts for that. Now, the one good thing, if you already are a subscriber to the AEC collection, you actually have access to this software already, if you did not know that. And the easiest way to get to this software is just type autodeskforma.com and it'll bring you to a website and you'll have to log in, of course, to make sure it has your entitlement. And then when you click the login, it'll bring you into this hub here. This is called the Autodesk Forma Hub. And here you can be able to see, let me minimize my one window here. Here we can see what the hub looks like. So here it outlines your recent projects. On the right panel here, you have different media that you can sign up for, the YouTube channel, the community forums, the help center. You can also sign up for the newsletters, and they'll be able to let you know when there's up newsletter. Because one thing that Forma does, and one big benefit about a cloud-based solution, is that updates automatically happen, and they happen pretty frequent as well. So we'll be able to touch on that, some of that stuff a little bit uh, during this demo. And I do want to highlight, they have this learning panel on the lower part of the screen here. And this actually takes you, a new user on a tour guide, let's say, well, they will tell you step-by-step instructions and have a sample project for you to follow along and be able to learn the software pretty interactively. This is a really nice feature, and I value that Autodesk implemented something like that. I think it's perfect for new users. So let's just dive right in and create a project. So what we're going to do here is I'm going to click New Project here. And this is going to look really similar to like a Google Earth where we can type in an address. So the project that I'm going to be working on is going to be 309 East Pennsylvania in Towson. And you can see it's going to automatically take me to this location. And basically we can see street names and we can see that's about it, right? But something here that can help us identify the area to make sure we're in the right location. We can go ahead and turn on the aerial map as well. And then we can zoom in. We can um, pinpoint the exact location that we need and maybe not bring in as much outside data that's necessary. Now, as you can see, as I zoomed in a couple of notches here, it gave me a little error. It's saying this area is it's a little small to run certain analysis. So please zoom out. So just be mindful of that. And just so I can zoom in to show you, we're going to be proposing some infrastructure in this location here, in this patch. here. I'm going to zoom out until I can get that error message to go away. And you can see this blue location here is its best estimate of the address that I typed in. So I can do my best here to center that within my workspace. And here it gives us a little tooltips. So to pan, we left click and hold the mouse button down and we can pan left and right. If you try to use the mouse wheel here, which we're probably used to with using Autodesk products, hold the mouse button down and pan, it's not going to happen here. And zooming just functions as we're used to with the scrolling the mouse wheel up and down. So once we get our area identified here, let's, oh, before I do that, you can also type in the project name here as well. So we're gonna fill that in. I'll call this a Towson upgrade. So we identified the project area now, and we'll click confirm. It's gonna take a few seconds here to start building our data. Now, one thing that I do like about Forma is they have um, access to certain data that we can automatically bring in. And as this loads, you'll be able to see we can filter by building, we can filter by terrain, we can also include parcels. Um, and again, this is something that they are continuously updating. So we're seeing this menu right here as soon as it loads. This menu, pretty much every so often when I log into it, I see it growing. So again, this is one of the benefits to having a cloud-based solution where they keep adding data to it. And if you notice down here, it says if it's missing any data sources that you specifically need, just reach out to them and see if that's something that they can get added. So again, this is a really nice feature to see Autodesk starting to implement these things. Now, this can look really overwhelming, scrolling through and looking through this, but we have a nice filter button up here. So I can click buildings, for example, just to filter and see the buildings that are in this area. So these are completely available um, for free, unless otherwise specified. So let's go ahead and click this Open City model, and you can see it's identified right here that it is a free order. So we'll go ahead and add that to our set here. Okay, successful. And then it will back out. Let's go ahead now and filter by terrain. And you can see we have a few different options. I'm just going to go ahead with the first option here. Go ahead and process that order. Next one here, I'm going to go with the base map. I'll go ahead and I'll pick the satellite option. Now I'm going to click on the roads and I'm going to start to bring this information in. Now I do want to specify the roads. Not only are you bringing in the road names and the models of the roads, but this also has traffic information embedded into it, which will then help you do your noise analysis as well when that time comes. Now parcels, this is the one I did want to mention. If you notice, it is free, but there's also a little identifier here saying it's a limited offer. I do not know how long this limited offer lasts or will stand, but you can see it's meant to be $3, but at the moment they're offering this for free. So I believe as this continuously grows, um, they may start adding some dollar amounts to some of this data. Okay. So sorry, I had a couple notifications pop up here. So now we're taking a look at our the information that we imported in. You can see our aerial is draped over our source here. We can see there's some elevation assigned to the ground now. You can kind of see that this upper end is a little bit higher. So it's bringing all this free information into my model. Now let's talk about navigating our drawing. If I left click, you can see it's doing, my cursor is letting me select. So that's my selection. and I can drag, left click and drag, just like we can do it in AutoCAD, right? If you drag from right to left, it's going to do a crossing window. So that means any objects that you touch will be able to interact with. If you drag from left to right, it's going to do a selection of that selection will be picked. And you can also pick individual objects as well. Zooming in and out, you just scroll the mouse wheel down to zoom out. You scroll the mouse wheel up to zoom in. And then panning, if you hold the mouse wheel down and move your cursor around, you'll be able to pan around the image. Now, to be able to rotate our view around the image, you want to hold the right click down. So if you hold the right click down and start moving your cursor, we can see we can rotate around our image here. Okay, let's talk about the interface. Now, this left panel is going to have all our navigational. So this outlines our proposals. This is our library, and this is going to be our extensions here. So our proposals, what that means is we can have different schematics or conceptual designs set up for this project. So I can have an unlimited number of proposals here. We can come up with, let's say we come up with three different sketches. I can have proposal one, two, and three, and be able to switch between all three of those designs within my model. The library here, this is the information that we were looking at and we were able to import into our drawing. If you do need to order additional data, that was the window I was in previously, you can click on this here and it'll bring this um, back up again and you can order again. And this extensions button here, we can click on the add extensions. This is something I have not used yet on Forma, but we'll give that a minute to load. And this is also something that I'm seeing this list grow and grow every time I log into the software. So we have a couple plugins for Revit, Rhinoceros. There's Dynamo, starting to incorporate Dynamo here. Test Fit is something that I'm interested in looking at here as well. We have some arrow views by Plex Earth. This is a subscription based. So if you do have Plex Earth, you can also start to incorporate that information as well. All right, so that's our left panel here. This panel right here is our main toolbar. So this lets us be able to draft our conceptual design. And if we hover over some of these, it'll give us tooltips of what we can go ahead and build and design in our model. We'll take a look at that further in a little bit. And then this right panel here is for all our analysis. We can do, and this is very smart analysis that will be able to take your model and perform the analysis that you're looking at and be able to make adjustments to your site based on the information it's giving you. And the one thing I do like about this is you can assign for each different proposal that you have set up, it can have its own analysis. And then you can view the history of your analysis as you build them up here. So I can go back and look at different iterations of my models or my sketches or my schematics and be able to make an informed decision on taking the right path, or if I'm reviewing that with the client. So now that our base plan is set up, let's go ahead and start to draw. Let's create our objects here. So what I want to do is I want to propose some sort of information here. Maybe a building, maybe a parking access, maybe some nice landscaping, or maybe retain some of these trees here. But there's a building in the way, right? If I click on that building, you can see does not want to be there anymore. So what we're going to do, we're going to demo this building. But before I just go in here and just start getting rid of the building, I'm going to show you that you can make a copy of your proposal here. So I'm going to go ahead and click on the dots here and click on duplicate. And I'm going to make a copy of my proposal. I'm going to also name this. And I'm going to go ahead and call this base. So I want to keep my existing information intact. Now, when I switch over to my proposal one, I can click on my building. I can click this button here to to edit and make changes to my building. So since this is an existing building that came in with our model, I actually want to get rid of it. So if I just select on it and click the delete key, it will get rid of that building for me. So let me just position my site a little bit here.
Very similar to
Very.
InfraWorks process.
Yep, exactly, exactly. So the first tool here is this magic wand, and you probably have seen similar tools like this with other software that you're using. And what this does is it starts to incorporate generative AI. And I'm going to go ahead and click on this magic wand here. And essentially what I can do, okay, it was lagging for a
Mhm.
second.
Real quick question, George. Do we want to go ahead and set the project boundaries limits on this? Like
I'm
the
sorry,
boundary
Tony,
of the parcel? So do we want to
you were
set the
breaking up.
the project boundary? Can you hear me?
Yeah, you were breaking up at first.
Yeah. So will we, do you think at this point, before we draw the building, should we set the project limit?
We can. So I'm gonna go ahead and grab these two and I'll add
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
Now, what box, since you think it's grabbing that data, you think it's a shapefile?
Yeah, so what it's doing is, let me go ahead and
Because if
backtrack.
it's a shapefile, we could incorporate our own shapefile data straight from the county, and bring in our own parcels, I'm assuming.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
I'm not 100% sure where this information is coming from, this property
Hmm.
boundary. Hmm, yeah, let me see if I can look at it. Yeah, Regrid, I'm not really familiar with that
Yeah, I've heard of
parcel
them. They
service.
go and collect a bunch of
That is something
property
that we
information.
do in-house is our jurisdiction,
Hmm.
um, they provide those parcels
Yeah.
information with GIS. Yep.
I think like Dallas, Dallas County and Tarrant County and Denton County and a lot around here can provide that I think every 6 months or 3 months, they provide that data for free.
Yeah. So what we're going to do now is when I click on this tool, and just like Tony mentioned, we added the parcels to our data set now. And you can see that when I hover over top of that, it's going to highlight the area around it. So this is my one property line. This is my second property line here. And when I click on it, what what the magic wand is going to do is start to fit in some objects. And you can see as I hover over and click on these options here, we have two buildings here with some trees. We have a one building option with some landscaping. We have a two building option, another one building option, and then there's a little tiny button here where we can continue. So you can see it's giving us up to eight different designs that it's just doing its best to fit in. And if there's a design that we like here, so let's say I liked this option. We can go ahead and just select it. And then if I click the X button here, you see it says exit the drawing mode. And now it has added those to my data set now. So you can see all these objects are interactive and they are actual pieces that I can modify now and I can also manipulate as well. If we don't want to go down this generative route, we can also build from scratch. So let me take a look at the parcel next to it here. We have this line building, for example. If I click on that, what I can do is I can just like I'm drawing a line, and it's going to automatically start drawing a building. And I can continue my building around, or if I'm done, I can just hit the enter key. Now, if I click on my building, so when I click on my building now, I can be able to look at the properties panel here, and then I can make edits to this. So I can change the number of floors. Say I need it to be 8. I can change the heights between the floors. So let's say if we need 12-foot separations, I can update sections. I can also update the width of my building as well. So I can make some real quick edits onto my building. Pretty easy, pretty simple. And that was just the line building. If I just select one, I can delete it. We have different options here as well. Can make basic buildings. It can be a cube. Um, and you can kind of just draft it in however you like. Let's say I want 50 foot. I'm used to hitting enter a lot from AutoCAD, and I know it doesn't process, right? So I apologize for that. So in that case, it was actually looking for me to just click. I tried hitting enter, and it did not like that. So now when I place this building here, I can also, if I click the top of the roof, I can also just use the slider and update it that way. Or I can modify it through the panels. I can also individually click a floor and be able to modify that as well if I need one of the floors to be taller than another. So it's pretty flexible in allowing you to do different iterations of your project. Let's go ahead and I'll select on that and I'll delete that. And we'll take a look at the next tool. The next tool here is a tree line. So if I just draw a line, I'll hit enter and you can see now it placed these trees. Now these trees, they're going to look pretty generic. They're just some cylinders. But the good thing about these trees is they work really well when doing the different analysis. So they're going to be able to do their job, whether it's a solar or a wind analysis or a sun analysis. They'll be able to function properly to give you that analysis. Let's go
Even acting
ahead
as a
and
sound barrier too, you know.
yep, that's correct. Yep. So there's a lot of data embedded into these objects. They look really simple, but again, this is the goal of these is to look simple. This is not meant to be a final construction document level
Yeah.
design at all.
Mm.
This is really the first phase of a project. You're coming in, you're trying to do some sketching, some conceptual designs, and this is a really nice and easy way to put everything in a collaborative environment and be able to share with the client and have that back and forth. And again, it does not involve you needing to install any software. And I really think that's the powerful part of this. And then when you're done your design, you can then implement it into Revit, for example. You can export out and be able to um, use your design with your now more official higher level designing software. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to stick with this layout that the wand has given me. And we're going to take a look now at some of the analysis now. Now, I do want to point out that some of this analysis does take some time to run. So you need to have some patience and be able to let the software do its thing. One of these particularly gives you a warning. So for example, this wind analysis is giving me a warning that it says to run the detailed version of this analysis could take a minimum of 30 minutes up to an hour and a half. And the reason why it's doing that is actually modeling those air streams. So when it's done, you can also view those air streams and be able to interact with those air streams as well. So this is a pretty high level analysis. the microclimate here, also the noise analysis here. So this is another one that gives you a little heads up that it's going to take a little bit of time to perform that. We have the solar analysis, embodied carbon analysis, and that's the end of them of those. So I'm going to go ahead and click on the sun hours. Oh, okay. So now when I hover over this, you'll notice that the run analysis is not clickable. It's actually grayed out. And this is that there's a geometry issue. So if we look down here, we can see that there's an issue. If I click on that, I can review what the issue is. It's noticing there's duplicate geometries. And I'll click on the remove button there. It must have been something that came in with the the base model, the base information that we imported. And now you can see the analysis button is now selectable. So I'll click on that and we'll give that a few seconds to run.
One thing I like to add is, when you first selected the model, it'll download all these buildings in the area. So if you selected a couple blocks, you
Mhm.
can choose and pick which buildings you want to put into your proposal. You don't have to import all the buildings. You can, manually select or do a window selection, say, okay, add these buildings to proposal one, from the
Yep,
existing
that's a good
base.
point. Yep. Yep, good point. I kind of breezed through that part, but it's very similar how I added those two parcel lines to my data set,
Yeah.
where you can just pick and choose the objects to bring in instead
Yeah.
of everything. Yeah, thank you for that, Tony.
Yeah.
So here the sun hours was able to complete. It's going to give me the analysis information. It's going to also give me a nice legend, and I can be able to um, pretty much make informed decisions based on this information. I can make revisions to it, and then if I have multiple analysis or if I have multiple proposals, like I mentioned earlier, we can also compare all the different proposals that we have set up and also the different analysis that we have set up as well. And then we can start to make informed decisions to better our design and be able to achieve the goal of the client. So the last thing I wanted to talk about was the Revit incorporation. Essentially, when you download this add-in for Revit, what it does is then you can have on, and I don't have Revit on this computer to show you, but what it does is on the Revit side of things, you'll see in your toolbar in your ribbon panel, there'll be under the massing and site ribbon, you'll be able to see a Forma panel there. And under that Forma panel, you'll have the option to load your proposal. And then you'll be able to log into your account and be able to bring in this model directly into Revit as well. And then that'll pretty much kick off your design for Revit.
Yeah. I think one of the cool things that they've added in 2024 is the ability to now take it a step further to model the building. Right now, let's say if you have a rectangle, you can modify width and height and floor plans. But when you go to 3D sketch mode, now you can even take it a next step further and actually do more modifications to the building, which is a new feature. I think, if I'm wrong, correct me if I'm wrong, but 2024. So that 3D sketch mode, which is kind of cool. Which basically you're slicing and creating curves around the buildings and stuff like that. So, um, if you click on one of the buildings, can you show them the sketch mode, sub mode? Yeah, yeah. And it's going to probably ask you to um, convert. So, but yeah, it's a nice little tool if you want to make some modifications and slicing and creating curves around
Right.
the
Yeah,
buildings
you
and
can see
stuff
the
like that.
toolbar change now.
Yeah. Um, there you go. Curves and cylinders. Yep. And unions. Yep. kind of the same tools, um, kind of the same tools you see in AutoCAD 3D model tools. It's kind of the same basic tools. Yeah, that's kind of new. Other things that you can see in the news update on 2024 updates um, is the ability to make modifications of something that comes in from Rhino. You can modify that in 3D sketch mode also. Other new features they've added is let's see, noise analysis is out of beta, so now that's going to be incorporated into uh, Forma, so noise
Great.
analysis. Um, there's also going to be some cross-aboard analysis enhancements that's going on. This is kind of was announced in this year's AU. Oh, can we mute? Yep, can we make sure everybody's muted? Yeah. Um,
Yeah,
And
that's a good
they're
point to
also going to be
make.
adding Dynamo, like George mentioned, adding some features here to incorporate Dynamo and docs, Autodesk docs. So now you're going to be able to share these models or access across docs, so that'll be a new feature. I don't know if it's in there right now, but it will be added here shortly, maybe the very next
Yeah, I
release
did
or it
see it.
might be in
Yeah.
another update. So,
But like I said,
um,
every time I've logged into this, I've
yeah.
seen things
One thing I do
added.
wish that would add, I'm going to comment to them is I know
Yep.
Ezra's got some great aerials, but Nearmap is better. They actually have more higher resolution aerials, more up to date in the city. They fly like Dallas and Austin, Houston, major cities 3 or 4 times a
Hmm.
year. So I'm hoping
Hmm.
they'll add an access to Nearmap imagery. So that'll be kind of cool to have, um, especially when you're doing exhibits and stuff like that. So, um, but yeah, uh, other things that will be really cool. Not every city incorporates or provides access to utilities, public utilities like water, sewer, and storm. I know
Right.
some cities here in the DFW, they do. They'll give you all of the data, that they have, because
Yep.
it's part of their as-built process requirements. Is when the construction is done, you could provide an as-built and GIS shape files. They put in their GIS website, and then everybody else can access that file once they create an account. So for those cities that do provide, utilities, it'd be really nice if we can, include somebody can go in there and start collecting all this data, because it'd be a nice tool to have. So, and of course they're adding more and more extensions, just like George says. There's stuff going on that's constantly being added, um, especially a lot of third-party apps and extensions and stuff. So. I did create a link on there in the chat about Test Fit. I think what they're incorporating is their parking tools. If you've never seen it,
Yep.
they got a kind of an AI software that runs very similar to the Bentley Site Designer tool for parking layout tools and stuff. So you can download that extension and use it in the Forma also. So I posted that on the chat, the link for that. So. Um, let me post the link also of the updates on the chat. Okay. Um, but does anybody have any questions? We'll try to do another one in maybe 2 or 3 weeks, do a follow-up um uh, on this webinar and get a little more in depth. This is just a more general intro into Forma. But you can see the power. It's very similar to SketchUp and InfoWorks. It'd be interesting in 5 years if they don't just incorporate all the InfoWorks stuff in here or vice versa. You do the site modeling and then just it's a push of a button and it puts it into InfoWorks and adds all the materials. So here you're not really applying materials, you're just creating generic conceptual plans, and that's the purpose is running analysis, look at the building, does it work? And then maybe push it into like InfoWorks and then it creates all the materials and stuff, and then push it back to Civil 3D. Now it's bringing in the roads, the parking or grading and builds and stuff like that. So I could see something maybe like that happening, or I wish it does happen. So. Um, but I also see, to me, my feeling that eventually I don't think it'll ever happen, but maybe InfoWorks just becomes a login just like Forma and you log into the application. But I wish there would be an extension to Civil 3D, but I think the programming is different. So, um, but no, it's pretty new. I don't know how long has this product been around? I think it's just a few years, right? 3 years?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they got bought out in 2023, like early
2023. Oh,
2023.
okay. Yeah. So maybe less than that. So,
Yeah, I
uh,
think so.
yeah.
I
Well, the
think
thing
so.
is, some of those features came from um, Format. Yeah. Some of those
Right.
tools came from Format that I
Yep.
incorporated here. So, and even Format wasn't around that long, I don't think. So, but yeah, it's kind of got some really great tools and stuff for conceptual site planning, especially for like larger projects. I think if you're doing like a campus or like an apartment complex that has multiple buildings and stuff, or even
Yeah.
downtown skyscrapers, I used to work for a company that build, big giant skyscrapers and stuff, so that can come in handy. But something that's a 20-acre mixed use development, I could see a huge benefits of this. So,
Agree.
um,
Yeah.
but yeah, anybody have questions online? We did record this, so we'll post it on the YouTube channel. I did get a bunch of people that emailed said that they just wasn't able to come.
Right.
But really great stuff, George. Great presentation. Yeah, and are y'all currently using it on y'all's project, or are we still more in the testing phase?
Trying to get the team into
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, especially,
Yeah.
you got to buy off on those site planners because right now, I don't know what your workflow is, but I used to see those site planners do it by with pen and paper. I'm like, or pencils and paper. I'm
Yes.
like, and
Yep.
you're like, man, that takes forever. Like, I'm more of a visual person. I can like sketch stuff up in my mind and put it in CAD, and you're drawing it precisely to scale versus sketching something, erasing it, sketching it, coloring using color pencils, and then
Yep.
you turn around and spend the next 8 hours redrawing it in CAD.
Right.
Yes, it looks pretty, but here I think the purpose of this maybe at some point is get away from the hand drafting sky planning, that still goes on.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, so when do y'all think you will probably incorporate this into y'all's workflow? You think it'll be a good year probably before you get buy off on it? Um,
Yeah, I think 2025 could be it
yeah, because I don't think it's meant for every project, like I don't
for
see this in a
sure.
subdivision or something,
For
but like
sure.
big commercial, a lot of industrial projects with two big several big buildings and stuff, I can see that beneficial. So, but yeah.
Yeah. I think
Um,
depending on the client too, I think it would be nice for them to visualize it
yeah,
within the neighborhood as well in a
yeah,
3D space.
yeah. Now, I'm hoping they do include some of the analysis tools built in the test fit. I played with it, especially when you're doing the floor planning to incorporate the floor planning aspects of test bit. I don't know if they'll do it, but they probably still want to keep their stuff in on their own platform. Um, but if you didn't know, with test fit, you can just type in the ratio of rooms per floor, and it'll calculate and shift the floor plans around for you, automatically design those floor plans for you. So that's kind of a nice tool. So. But yeah, great stuff. So, hey, Christian, how's it
Hey,
going?
I'm excited. Hey,
Hey guys.
Thanks for joining us.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
know it was
that
kind of last minute. I
been
didn't
fun.
advertise until like last week, late last week and stuff. So, end of the year, I figured I'd slide in one more webinar, and we're gonna do our Christmas next week, but I'm gonna do our trivia later this week. Our Civil 3D Revit trivia, AutoCAD Revit trivia. So, um, but yeah. Well,
Awesome,
cool.
very
Well,
cool.
do you have any questions? Anybody else have any questions? Sid and John? I don't know if y'all have any questions and stuff about formats. So I'm hoping I can start playing around with it and see where I could use it in some of my projects I work on. I work on, townhome developments and stuff like that. So I want to see if I can maybe try to get down with my developer and just kind of playing around with the product and see where it can be beneficial for my current workflow.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, sounds good.
Well, if we don't have any questions, we're going to go ahead and stop here. I appreciate everybody coming online and attending our webinar. Like I said, I did record it, and we'll post it on our user group platform and also our YouTube channel and stuff. So, but great presentation, George. I appreciate it. Um, if you have any questions, go on our platform and MeWe platform for the DFW BIM Infrastructure User Group and chat with us online. We're there. I'm on there 24/7 pretty much. So, but
Yeah,
all right.
cool.
Well, everyone have a great day. All right,
Have a good
Pleasure.
later.
one.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thanks.
Tony.
Thanks. Yeah. Thanks, George. Bye.
Yep, thank you.